Yeah, Gary, I do think this season is due to be interesting. Let's hear what the front three have to say about this.
Only three wise men will listen.
Welcome back to the Front Three podcast with myself, Big Will, Coach Dan, and of course the prodigy himself, AJ. Fellas, it's been a while.
We're inside. We are inside the building.
Yes.
Houston, we have a problem. Front three, we are the problem.
Yes.
Oh. No, it's good to be back, guys, man. Nothing better than a bit of a debate to start off the year.
A bit of a debate.
As I looked at, as I heard about this debate, I was very uneasy. I said, I need to break some necks. I'm going to do that on this today. I promise you.
New year.
But before we go anywhere, people, don't forget to comment, like, share it. And why don't you subscribe? Why don't you start off your 2024 by subscribing to our podcast?
Love it. So let's kick off then, gents. Let's kick off with a good old debate that we have going on, not just between ex-footballers, but also between fans as well. Let's have a debate between Saka and Foden. Who is the best? So currently this season, both are leading both their respective teams, Arsenal and Man City, with their goal contributions. I believe Saka's on 10 goals, 8 assists. Foden, I think 8 goals, 7 assists, somewhere along those lines. Coach, let's start off with you. He's looking so...
Before we go anywhere, very careful here.
Hold on.
Be very, I'm warning you. Be
When
very
it gets to
careful
my
here.
turn, yeah, I hope people at home put their pen and paper.
Yeah.
Last
Educate.
session. But why don't we stick to tradition and let the juniors go first?
Okay.
Stick to tradition.
Okay.
Do you know what? I think it's a worthwhile debate to be had in
Yeah.
football. I think it's one that has been brewing for a while, and I think it's only reared its head as much this season because, for lack of better words, Foden has finally kind of stepped up, if that makes sense. Saka, over the last couple of years, we've seen him transition from a left back into a left forward, and he's just progressively got better in terms of his goal contributions and what he brings to Arsenal as a player. I think with Phil Foden, the issue has been over the years is his inability to, solidify his position at Man City. You know what I mean? But I think this season and, last season as well, he's finally kind of gained Pep's trust, if I could say that. And funny enough, it's coincided with his great form.
Yeah.
So this is why this debate has been looking to brew. And now we come to the part where, we can look at stats, we can look at what each player gives to you, visually in terms of watching them play. And yeah, for me, I'm an Arsenal fan. Saka's my boy. The only time I stopped loving Saka was when he done that macaroni blonde thing on his hair and his form was going, and then he dyed his hair back to black, and all of a sudden, we're back on track.
Yeah.
Hey, I made that rhyme. Don't watch that.
I like that.
But for me, I think they're two different players,
Okay.
personally. I think when you look at Phil Foden, he's more of someone who wants to create from anywhere and everywhere he receives the ball. I think with Saka, because of his progression from being a left back to being now a right forward or a left forward, he can play all those positions. He seems, how can I say it? I think Foden has the ability to do whatever, whenever. He has that maverickness about him. Whereas I think Saka, he's more of a, I know what you're going to do every time you get the ball. It's just, I can't stop it. Does that make sense? And so it's like, when I watch both, I enjoy watching both. But personally, for me, I'd say I think Phil Foden is better. I believe Phil Foden is a generational talent. That's what I believe.
Yeah.
You lot might disagree. You guys watching might disagree, but I feel like Phil Foden's a generational talent. I think his balance, his ability to get out of tight spaces, his vision, and his finishing on both feet as well. Obviously, he's more left-footed, but just the way, and his technical ability is different class. I think there are tiers in technical ability, and I think he is at the peak. Like, when I watch the way he strikes a ball, the way he passes, the way he shifts position, the way he uses his hips to beat someone, it's just a joy to watch. I just love watching Phil Foden. And then when I look at Saka, yes, technically gifted, but I just don't think he's on that tier of the technical ability of Phil Foden, if that makes sense.
Right.
But again, Saka's a great finisher, both left foot and right foot. But in terms of creativity, I don't think he comes as close to Phil Foden as what they might do shooting wise, if you get what I mean. And I feel like Foden has better vision.
Is it too much to say? Even though I think if you go with stats, they've played pretty much the same amount of games in the Premier League. But I think Saka's got overall, I think it's like 35 to 25 assists compared to Foden. So going back to your point, someone might counteract and say, well, Saka's got more assists than Foden.
That's great, but then if you look at it in terms of starts for a team, Saka would also trump Foden. So for me, if Foden's not on the pitch to display this ability that I'm talking about right now, then of course his stats won't quite measure up to you that of Saka. Number two,
but then is Saka playing with not as many good players as Foden?
And that was going to be my point actually, because that can be a blessing and a curse if you are Foden, because you're playing with so many better players. You know, De Bruyne has been carrying the mantle for City for the last how long? You know what I mean? Yeah. Which has now put De Bruyne in the category of being one of the greatest midfielders, if not the greatest midfielder the Premier's ever seen. So for someone like Foden, do you know what I mean? You don't get a chance like that. It's funny how Foden's greatest form has coincided with when De Bruyne was out injured.
Yeah.
Make of that.
I mean, Thierry Henry was saying this week, like, he's carried them.
He has. Yeah. And it's because he's been trusted. And do you know what I'm trying to say? It's interesting. Let's say, for example, if De Bruyne wasn't injured, I don't think we'd probably see this sparkling form of Foden, unfortunately. And it's weird to say that, to think that. But I guess sometimes you can be, you know, a casualty of how great your team is. Whereas Saka, for example, Arsenal needed someone to step up over the last few seasons, you know, because we never had someone who was scoring in and out every week. We never had that person who could just, you know, take the game by the scruff of the neck and make a difference. But weirdly enough, it's kind of like pressure makes diamonds. He's been pressured and he's delivered. And so I love both, I respect both, but just for me, Phil Foden's magic.
And you choose Foden based on his overall game, or you just of a fan of his technical qualities?
Just his ability to create, the flair that he has. Like, I could tell you what Saka will do one-on-one. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Because it's almost predictable, but it doesn't mean that you can't stop it. Do you get what I'm trying to say? It's almost like, and I'm not comparing him before anyone starts jumping on my neck, like Iron Robin.
I was about to say that as well,
You knew Robin would cut in and whip. You knew. 11 times out of 10. Robin will cut in and whip. And that was his trademark across such a great career. You knew he'd do it, but you couldn't stop it. In the same way with Saka. You know what movements he's going to make. You know. Probably the night before, when you're in your bed as a defender thinking about him, you're like, I'm gonna get him like this, get him like that. It comes up to it, you can't stop him. Unless recently, as we've been seeing, you double up on him. But it's just with Foden, I just love that unpredictability about what he's going to do next. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Just the turns, the flicks, the ghosting past people. Just love it. Just love it.
You know, I don't think I disagree with a lot of what you said. Obviously, who you think is better, it's up for debate.
Of course.
And it's subjective. Of course, people can, you know, you say you like his technical ability and his ability to create. Someone will say, well, Saka's speed and power.
Yeah, of course.
Could be what they appreciate the most about him. Even more so than they appreciate, what's his face?
Foden's technical ability. That's interesting you said that though, because that's the kind of the two battles that have been arising in football over the last about 7-8 years. Do we prefer the technical ability guys who are small, great center of gravity, low center of gravity and stuff, or are we more moving towards the pace and power?
You know, there was a reason why in the past, or even you hear people talk about that smaller players have suffered in the past in getting picked up because you were deemed as you didn't have power, you couldn't really handle the game and whatnot. And of course, I think with the evolution of football, it's allowed players like that to come to the forefront because of the positional plays that are so prevalent in football now and the constant keep the ball, hold it, pass and move.
So less about power and speed, isn't it?
Well, I mean, it depends.
Not as much.
I think it depends. It depends on where you're playing, who you're playing for, and how your team plays.
Well, see, that's where I was going, because I don't think it's less the power, but it's just more that there's room for those technical players. You see what I'm saying? The way I think of it is this way, though. You look at Saka, he would be able to play across different generations, more so than Foden could. I believe Foden will need to be in a technically superior team in order for him to shine.
I see what you mean.
Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, okay.
For his qualities to be really highlighted within the team and his contribution, I think he will need to be in a technically a superior team, which Manchester City have been for a long time.
Yeah.
But we see him, we know. No one can really say Foden is an England starting lineup. No one can say that.
And I was
He's
gonna
got a
get to
quality
all that.
should
Yeah,
start,
yeah.
but no one can say that.
Yeah.
But I think that's also on the verge, on the line of what I said earlier, is his reliability. Saka is reliable because we've seen him do it season out for however many games. You know, even at the start of this season, people were upset that he was being played so much because he looked tired, he looked jaded. You know what I'm saying? So I get it. I get why Foden's not. He should be on paper one of the first names on the team sheet. But then you got to look at his reliability.
Because again, you know, at the international level, the manager don't play the football that Pep does.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I hear
Where
you.
it requires him to use his body a bit more in the international scene.
Yeah.
That might not necessarily be the case at Manchester City. And you, like I was saying, I think you alluded to it a second ago that I've lost my train of thought, but let me just go back to it and maybe it comes back to me. In that when you look at the setup of England, right? Like I was saying, Saka, however you want to put it, you probably say on the right side, that's his position now.
Yeah.
Right? And Foden is, where could he play? Could he play on the left? Should we play him in the hole?
Yeah.
But then how would he work with Bellingham? Because if Bellingham is playing, Rice is playing.
Yeah.
Bellingham and what's his name? Foden, how would it work in the midfield and everything like
Mm-hmm.
that? And up until, this is the thing, up until recently, no one could sit here and tell me Foden has a starting spot in that Manchester City team. Up until recently.
Yeah.
It's the first season
Yeah.
you see Foden play 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, however many games in a row.
Yeah.
Before, he's never had that luxury.
Yeah.
And so, yes, it could be because of, what's his face?
De Bruyne.
De Bruyne getting injured, or just Foden slowly stepping into, you know, that mold that everyone thought he could do, you know, because he's got boundaries of quality.
Yeah.
One other way I wanted to take this, though, because I've heard this argument, is that, are they world class?
Yes. I was going to that as well.
And my one is unequivocally no. Neither of them are world class.
He's unequivocally.
But I knew he was going to say that. Okay, why are they not? I'm not saying they are, but why are they not?
If you guys remember, a few years ago, we had a similar chat about what kind of players falls into that.
Oh yeah, we done the world class,
I'll go through it.
So
top tier.
Yeah.
And we had that, yeah.
Yeah, so these are the tiers,
I
right?
remember.
I posted this. So on the fourth level, it's like what I had, national or standard level, right?
okay.
National standard level. Then you got the third one, which is professional or international.
Yeah.
Then you got the second, elite. Then you got first, world class.
World class, yeah.
And for me, at that top tier of world class are five marks that I think that you need to at least hit 4 of them in order to be considered
Okay.
world class. That's for me. I had a thought about this.
Well, no, I can tell.
Pen and paper. I told them to take pen and paper.
Class is in session. Pay attention. Wow.
And if you don't agree, well, let's get in touch and we can talk.
yeah.
I forget what the 5th one is, but let's go with the 4th one. I put reliability in crucial moments.
Okay. So
The
match
third-
winning moments, basically.
Yeah.
Well, I know someone who would love that, Zeno.
And I put number 3, undisputed numbers.
Okay.
And number 2, stellar performances at least for a 5-year period.
Okay.
Consecutively.
That's consistency.
Yeah, barring injuries and whatnot. And of course, playing time. Right? And I think, the 5th one I was kind of pondering upon, would you be considered top of your position, profession?
Yeah, if someone was to vote,
You see what I'm saying?
top 5 wingers
3
in
or
the world.
whatever.
5 years in a
will
row.
you make it?
5 years.
Minimum.
Minimum.
Why not 3?
5.
But why not 3?
It's my criteria.
Okay.
Well,
5.
Well, mine's 3.
yeah.
And it could, and that's fair enough.
I think 3+, I think that's
Yeah.
good enough.
I don't know. And here's the thing. I think there are moments in a player's career where they can climb up and down those tiers.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you could be world class, then maybe you get to an older age, your performance and your playing time and your impact and influence in the game isn't as much anymore. So you go to elite. Do you see what I mean? And so when you think about it, who are the elite players? I'm talking about players here who lead the mantle for their positions, perhaps. And they've been doing it consecutively for 5 years. Foden has had this quality for that long. So as Saka, he's gradually got better.
Yeah.
But they're not at that level where I can say, they've had that influence in their game or in their team for 5 years. And this won't be a shock to any of you lot. You go to a right back, I think Tar is a world-class right back. Trent Alexander-Arnold. For those that don't know Tar. For those that don't know Tar. You see what I'm saying? You think about in that central area, KDB's a world-class player.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You think about on the left, Salah's a world-class player. And I would, what's the word? I'll be very angry. Let me put it that way. If anyone compares Foden to De Bruyne or Saka to Salah.
No, you can't.
Yeah.
You can't.
I would be.
Yeah,
Okay.
but I get it though. But I think there's tiers to it. Like there's levels to this game.
Exactly.
As people would say.
I'll put Foden and Saka at the elite level. They still got things to do.
Yeah.
They've not done anything in the game. Yeah, Foden's
Even
won a lot.
though Ferdinand was arguing, well, Foden, he's won trophies and did.
Do you know who's won trophies?
I can name you bare man who've won trophies. Do you know what I mean?
Is it Darren Gibson?
Yeah.
Was that United?
Yeah.
And then moved to Everton or something
Yeah.
like that. At the point he moved to Everton, he had won more trophies than Cesc Fabregas. Because Cesc Fabregas was at Arsenal.
Even Danny Dringwall's.
Does that mean does that mean he's
Bro, do you know what I'm saying? It doesn't
Yeah.
mean. And also, like when I look at things like that, I always look at how much did this individual contribute to what they've
Yeah.
won.
Yeah.
And look, Foden has been around the fold for a long time. He's been around our city,
Yeah.
building what they've built for
Yeah.
a long time. And he's at points in the season he's contributed. So this not to take away from him. Like I said, when it comes who's better, you lot can choose. It can be a debate. Someone said, I like this, I like this, I prefer this. But I'm saying the other part of the argument has been, are they world class? And no, they're not world class.
Are they world class talents though? Do they
Potentially,
both have
yes,
the potential?
Absolutely,
Okay.
yeah. Absolutely.
But
Yeah,
I
okay.
agree with
Because
that.
Foden could play amazing this
I
season.
think
Don't do
Foden's
nothing
talent
next year.
is different, especially for an English player. I don't know, someone of his ilk.
I think you've said like you've compared him to Wilshere in the way he runs, like when he gets
similar. But I just feel like he's got a bit more. He's a bit more explosive than Wilshere. Does that make sense? Like Foden can run past a couple man.
So could
Wilshere.
Wilshere. So could Wilshere. But see,
No, actually, I think you're right. Like in terms of okay, if you're gonna kick the ball and
no, Foden's got skills.
No, but he's also like if we're saying Foden is way more explosive than Wilshere.
Yeah, I think so.
But I suppose you can make that argument. Wilshere has been out of the game for a long time. I remember when he stepped onto the scene. It could be said of him that he was a generational talent. His injuries messed him up.
Benito'd him.
And it could, touch wood, that doesn't happen to Foden because I think it would be a shame for the game because he's so good.
Yeah.
He's so good and you want players like that to play. I mean, why wouldn't you anyway? Right? But he's not done anything consistently for me to say he's a world-class talent. I don't think Salah can do...
World-class player.
Player. Because, of course, they've got the ability to reach the world-class category.
Yeah.
But you can't speak in the same breath you do with Salah as you do with Saka because Salah's been doing it for years.
Yeah, you can't.
KDB's been doing it for years.
Yeah.
When his country needs him, he's there. When his club needs him, he's there.
Like they've been banking the thing.
Yes, exactly.
And how important is that? Because say Foden, he reaches a talent in the Premier League, Champions League in terms of performances, but if he doesn't do it on the international stage, do we then limit what category you put him in or not?
Though. I think on the international stage, I always say international stages are a bit different. If someone can win a trophy with their country or excel for their country at international level, they're a cut above. Only because of how hard it is to really win something with your country. And I think we've
But
seen
do they even necessarily need to win? It can, as long as they're performing.
So let's say, for example, Mbappe, for example, right? They didn't beat Argentina, but his performance was so outstanding.
Yeah.
You had to give him kudos. Do you get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
So if Foden or Saka does something like that, then
okay.
Because that's just...
It's a level of influence they have
on
their
the
team.
Like, do you get it? Because I always say winning something or having huge influence on your national team is tough.
It is.
It's tough. And those who can do it, I really, really respect.
And you almost got to take away the winning thing because the winning isn't done by one player, it's done by the team.
By a team,
And sometimes a player can be penalised by the team he's in.
Yeah.
Is Haaland ever going to win an international
Of course,
trophy? Probably not. Right?
Yeah.
And
but the influence he has
is big.
Huge.
It's big. So you have to take them, case by case and manage it that way. But
Because even if you look at, let's say, Ronaldo and Messi, for example, them winning things with their countries, it's what, like, you know, people used to talk about, you know, Pele's and the Maradonas. What got them into that type of conversation was the fact that they won things with their countries as well.
but honestly, yeah, those players are not world class.
Who, Pele and
Messi's, Ronaldo's, they're
Oh,
not world class.
they're elite.
Yes. You cannot speak about world-class Ronaldo, Messi, yeah, and have Foden and Saka in that conversation. I think it's a huge disrespect.
Even at the times when they
of course,
because
yeah,
even
yeah.
when
You can't do that.
even
No,
when
no,
You can't do that.
They're in
when
different
Messi-
categories.
Yeah.
But even
These are
when,
mystical
like,
creatures.
bro, even when Messi and Ronaldo were world class, bro, you couldn't bring Foden.
Yeah,
Like, world class is not enough of a
I'm telling you,
description for them, is it? Yeah.
So
yeah.
So it's like, that's what I'm saying, but like, for them, you saw how much it meant to them to win something with their countries, respectively, because they knew that it propelled them to another level of, you get what I'm trying to say?
it does.
So it's like,
You know, one of the old debates, well, we can't have it now, was, you know, if Messi didn't win an international trophy, is he a legend and blah,
and
blah,
that
blah.
debate didn't need to be had.
It didn't need
But
to
it's
be had,
because of
yeah.
how much people put on
That's the
winning
thing.
something with your country.
Yeah.
It
yeah.
is,
It's
yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
And when it came to those two, you needed always to come up with a new
Exactly,
argument.
yeah.
Thank
Well,
you.
this one didn't do that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 But, so yeah.
Coming back to this debate then, kind of to wrap things up, with Saka, what's going to take him to that world-class level? For me, I don't know if it's more of a, maybe an Arteta thing, but I feel like maybe he can play in different positions a bit more.
Wow, this has been coming up a lot recently. I
think,
agree with
yeah,
you.
go.
I agree with you. No, I agree with you. I've heard people say, why can't he play right centre mid and be in the pockets and create a bit more?
What's in the middle, central.
Yeah, I've heard
Behind
that
the
debate.
striker,
I think he has
maybe.
that 360 though.
In the hole, I've heard people say it as well. Why can't he play in behind the striker? Let's see what he can do in that.
Is he a bit too one-dimensional, maybe?
And that was my point. What I was saying, because I think it was last year he didn't hug the touchline as much as he does this year, and he was picking up really nice half spaces and could turn, run at people, and then let it go. Or do you know what I'm saying? And it was a different element. This year we've seen him more touchline, and then how Arteta likes the wingers to play is you run like towards the ball at an angle so you don't get clamped from behind. We've seen that a lot, and it's almost like when in the games where he's had two man on him, he hasn't been able to affect the game in any way, shape, or form.
No.
And it's like, okay, what else do you have about you? Can you come into the half space? Are you allowed to come into the half space? You get what I'm trying to say? So
Can he even play on the left? Or is
I
that
think
just
he can- I
like
think he can
completely...
play on the
Started
left.
off there, and he did just fine.
But then why wouldn't a manager use him on the left? Is it because he's so good on...
it's Arteta's
Or just the way it's gone in football? It's
I think
like...
of how the football is.
Yeah.
You play on the opposite
Yeah.
sides
Yeah.
and whatnot,
Yeah.
and the ideas that you can cut in.
Yeah.
And to me, I mean, all those things are good arguments, but ultimately for me, I think he's not got a killer instinct. And that's
he doesn't
okay.
define games for me.
And that's okay though, because he's only like 23.
Yeah.
It will come with age.
Yeah.
I don't need him to be a world-class player at 23. The fact that he's got the potential to reach that in the next 2 years or so
enough.
is enough. You see
Yeah.
what I'm saying? I
Yeah.
think there's a lot of these pressure for them to be world-class. No, look, he came into the Arsenal fold at his young age.
At
And I
Arsenal's
think-
worst,
Exactly.
one of the Arsenal's
Yeah.
worst
Yeah.
periods in history.
And I think, by default, a lot of pressure has been put on him that you're the one we look at. No one, since Foden joined City, no one's ever looked at Foden that you do it
Yeah.
for City.
yeah,
People
but
look at for Saka in that sense. And
Yeah, but
it's
that's
pressure
because-
he was a young kid that came from left back to right wing,
Yeah.
and he's been doing what he can do.
But that's because of the environments, though. Because at City, bro, I can tell you this for free, and City fans, if you disagree, shout me. There is no way they're going to put their hope and trust in an academy product. Impossible. What? Because of the nature of the way they do their business.
But I
Does that
guess you
make
could say
sense?
it's two different pressures. Like Foden, the weight of the whole thing is not on him. But because he's playing with so many great players,
And
it's
he's
like,
an academy
if I
product
play and I don't play
who's in
well,
the first
I'm out.
team,
you know?
Yeah, he has to deliver.
Yeah,
And that's what
yeah.
I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like for Arsenal, because of the way Arsenal has been historically, we look for our academy graduates to come into the first team and make something happen. Do you get what I'm trying to say there? That's why there's so much pressure on Emil Smith Rowe, for example. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Different. I think it's two different worlds in football. City, it's not, we want to produce a person, bring him through the academy and da-da-da. Over the years at City, how many have we really seen?
He's really the only one that's been there for a long time.
Shame, like with Cole Palmer now doing what he's doing at Chelsea.
Yeah, Cole Palmer cut because he deeped the situation as well.
Yeah.
And I rate Cole Palmer for doing that.
And that's the thing, though. It wasn't that Cole Palmer wasn't going to get playing time.
No, Pep said he get playing time, but
But
you
the
won't
approach
get
would
as
have been the
much.
same as Foden.
Yeah.
Foden's been there for a long
Yeah,
time.
and it's just now he's like
Now
you said,
you
just
can say, he's a starting lineup.
Yeah,
So yeah, it's interesting. Different pressures, definitely, because of the environments and the.
But amazing talent. I know football is such an opinionated game, yeah, that we have to have these discussions, which in turn puts pressure on both of them to begin with. I don't think it needed to be, but for the sake of the game, why not?
Well, and for the sake of the podcast, we got to make a decision then. Foden or Saka?
My elder. He's going to say Saka Foden.
How about this? England wins.
Oh my
England wins.
Um,
England are the ultimate winners.
It's interesting though, because thinking of them two right now, I'm just thinking, who will have more longevity? But anyway, that's
Time
a
will
question
tell.
for another time.
But,
But,
he more or less said.
I said Foden.
Yeah.
I'll say Foden as well.
Oh wow,
That's fair.
There we go.
great start today.
Yeah. So if you agree or disagree with the three of us, please let us know. But that does it for another episode of the Front Three podcast.